Hey everyone, and welcome to Monday's edition of Just Parlays. I'm Jim Williams, along with the man, the legend, Chris King. And Chris, hope you had a nice weekend.
It was quiet. That's always a plus.
Yeah, quiet's good. We like quiet here. There were a lot of weird things on. Weird meaning interesting and somewhat wacky. Um, we of course had the wonderful Olympics and all the fun stuff that goes on with that. I actually watched a little bit of the curling. That's fascinating to me.
Boy, now you know who was pumped for the curling? None other than Mr. T, who was very excited
I
about
heard about that. Yeah, I heard about that. I didn't see it, but I did hear about that. I thought the NASCAR race at the Coliseum in LA was a lot of fun. That was like a very high end bumper car situation. I mean, I get.
Basically Bristol on crack.
Yeah, that was a little bizarre, but hey, Joey Logano comes through for the Ford team, so good for Penske people. So yeah, we had the both the NHL All Star game and we had the Pro Bowl, where you mentioned earlier that defense in both cases are optional. So yeah, it was a little bit of an eclectic weekend, but now here we are. It's Super Bowl week, and pretty much every which way of Joe Burrow and Matt Stafford and the Rams and the Bengals are going to be analyzed and analyzed and analyzed and analyzed and analyzed. So
Then let me analyze more.
yes, and we'll continue to analyze them. So there's that week between, and then there is the week of. And Tony Dungy earlier this morning on Dan Patrick had a great line. He said when he was getting ready for the Bears, when the Indianapolis Colts were playing the Bears, and of course he knew Lovie Smith. Lovie worked with him. So so he said that all all the week prior they were never kicking the ball to Devin Hester. He said we had practiced every possible way not to get the ball in Devin Hester's hands. And he said, so then the night before the game, he had his pastor come in to say, to give them some uplifting words. And he said, never ever run away from your fear. If you run away from your fear, it will come back to bite you. So for some reason, Tony took this as a prophecy and decides we're going to kick to Devin Hester. And not only are we going to kick to him, we're going to kick to him and we're going to hit him hard, and he's going to absolutely realize that he's going to be in a game from here on out. Well, they missed him the first time. Fortunately, he didn't run back for a touchdown, but they didn't quite do what they wanted to do. And so after it was all over, and we all know by now that Indianapolis won the game, spoiler alert, 15 years ago, as a matter of fact.
Thanks to Rex Grossman.
Right, yeah, sexy Rexy. So anyway, long story short, Tony seeks out the pastor after the game and says, I took your he goes, no, I wasn't talking about, he goes, face your fear as long as your fear isn't Devin Hester. He says, so, even clergy can get it wrong. It is what it is, right? So,
now, speaking of Lovie Smith, do you think he's going to get the job in Houston?
Lovie Smith is one of the nicest and smartest football minds out there. So no, Houston will pick some stupid,
I mean, it's like Evan said Friday. We know it's not going to be Brian Flores. He pretty much has his fate.
Yeah. Tony actually had a good line about that too. He said that Danny asked him what would he do if Brian had called him and said, which Brian didn't, but had Brian, called him and said, hey, what do you think, Coach, should I? He said, I would have said, you really have to think about this. This is a very, very, I'm not going to stop you from doing it, but I am going to tell you, you really have to think about it. And so he didn't say that he would have discouraged him. He simply said, I would have had him think about it. But, at the end of the day, the real kicker here is that, Charles Barkley, the philosopher of our time, had the best line about this, and that was that very soon it's quite possible that we're going to have more black Supreme Court justices than we are going to have NFL black head coaches. So, only Chuck, right? Only Chuck can synthesize something as important as this down to the absolute essence of what it is all about. So,
all right, when you think of the great philosophers of history, you think of Aristotle and Plato and Socrates and Charles Barkley.
I think I would have slid Chuck in there before Socrates, personally. That's just me. So there you go. All right, you know what? Before we get started, we got a whole bunch of stuff going on here. Let's talk about all the fun stuff we have coming up with our friends at Caesars. That's right, Caesars. The Caesars Sportsbook has a new mobile app, and it's offering a really great deal to those of us out here who are friends and family of Winners and Whiners. But you have to use their sports app, and of course, this is your first bet. It has to be your first bet. And here's the deal they're going to give you. They're going to give you this. They're going to give you a match, okay? If you're the new sign-up, they're going to match your first deposit with a free bet up to $1,500 when you deposit at least $50 and use the promo code, which you will see scrolling across there and also in the show box below, which is WIN, and then there's SCZR, which is the stock market designation for Caesars. Okay, so Win Caesar basically is what that is. So again, what they're going to do is they're going to match your first deposit with a free bet up to $1,500 when you deposit at least $50 as part of the promotion and use our promo code. And it's basically, as I said, it's Windsor. It's on there, right there. It'll scroll by in a second. And it's also in the show box below. So that's the cool deal that we have from our buddies at Caesars Sportsbook. Now, not to be left out, because, we're equal opportunity when we do this. Our buddies over at BetMGM, okay? Now, they also have a deal for us. And what BetMGM does is BetMGM has a new deal, again, for those of you who are lucky enough to be fans of ours at Winners and Whiners, for all their new signups. Now, what they're going to do for you is this. They're going to give you a risk-free first bet up to $1,000 for a new customers only, but you must deposit at least $10 to start. Now, what you do is you want to try the BetMGM app, make a wager, and get the deal, all right? But you have to use our special bonus code VIDEOWINNERS, all right? So that's the deal. So as we said before, what are they doing for you? They're going to match your first deposit. You make a wager, on the deal, and what they're going to do is they're going to give you a risk-free bet of up to $1,000 for new customers, but you must make a deposit of $10, and as we said before, bet on the app and use the code VIDEOWINNERS. All right? Okay, so those are some of the things we want to be looking forward to from our friends at Caesars and our buddies at MGM. Okay? All right, so let's get started on this Monday. And get started.
We're going to get into what we talk about, too. We got guys asking questions already.
All right.
Can you believe that? Even started.
All right, let's see what we got in the way of questions.
We'll start with John, who's asking about Howard. We just found out they're going to play, I believe it's Norfolk State during All-Star Weekend in an HBC showcase during the NBA All-Star Weekend up there at the Wolstein Center home in Cleveland State. They're on the road tonight. They play everybody's favorite team, and I guess if you're looking for a doormat that matches up with IUPUI, it's the Delaware State Hornets. Howard, they're 9-10, but here's the thing about them. They have 6 losses that have come by 3 points or less. You're talking about a 2-point loss to Austin P, a 2-point loss to Mount St. Mary's. They lost by 3 to Norfolk State. They lost by 3 to Notre Dame. They lost by 2 to Conference, by 3 to South Carolina State. They could easily be 15-4 instead of 9-10 if things broke their way. Heck, even if those games are 13-7. Meanwhile, you're facing a Delaware State team that is, well, awful. Delaware State's 2-16. Dan Waterman's team's 2 wins this year over a non-Division I team. Sadly, they also lost to a non-Division I team, giving up 91 points and a loss to Salisbury, not to be confused with Salisbury State, back in November. These teams will meet again Saturday at Howard. As it stands, Delaware State is brutal on the offensive end. They're 356 efficiency, 355 or effective field goal percentage, and 356 turnover percentage. Howard should have no problem beating Delaware State, even giving 15.
Yeah. Do you want?
Get the
Yeah. Do you want to talk about James? He says that too many points for Belmont.
I will say this about Belmont. Belmont scared me the other day, but after I watched them in the second half of that game against Tennessee Tech, they were down 20. They came back and won in overtime by 8. You know, I think that might have served as a wake-up call, because for them to go down 20 points in that game against a Tennessee Tech team that had been awful. I mean, we're talking about the Golden Eagles are, what are they now, 5-18? I don't know. I know it's scary. I know they only beat Austin Peay by 8 in the first meeting, but for Belmont, you know, while the Bruins are up and down, you have to remember they have also blown out a bunch of teams of late. They blew out Eastern Illinois, they blew out Tennessee Martin, they blew out Tennessee State. And I think that Tennessee Tech game is going to be a wake-up call for them. I don't envy Austin Peay in this one. You know, the Bruins are 8th in the country at 82.3 point game, 4th in field goal percentage. They're second in 2-point shooting. Muzinski had 32 points the other night, I think. Ben Shepard had 33. And you're dealing with an Austin Peay team that doesn't score. They're 307 in scoring offense, they're 267 field goal percentage, 306 in 3-point shooting, and they don't rebound. Austin Peay is 261 in their last 9 on the road. Belmont 6-0 in their last 6 after giving up more than 90 points. And they're 7-1-2 in their last 2 spread out the day. Plus they're 6-1 in their last 7 after ATS lost. Like I said, I know it's a scary number. Austin Peay is overmatched. And Belmont, you know, I watched them play in the second half of that game when they were down by 20. And Tennessee Tech couldn't stop them after they built up the lead. Every time they went down the floor, either Belmont was getting an easy look at the net, or they were getting fouled going to the line. They're a dangerous offensive team. And James, like I said, I get it. There are some other games that are on the board that are better, but I'll go through it. There's a lot of games that are scary out there too. And you might not necessarily like when you look at some of the numbers. You know, I wasn't going to talk about here. I watched Duke just North Carolina and the Dean Dome the other night. But, you know, I try to avoid the power conferences because I went to Illinois or talking about Nebraska because it's always fun to think of Nebraska. I just think that Belmont put together a much better performance than
One real quick thing about Howard, they're very young. And I think that's bodes well for, you know, you were talking about the close losses they had. I think if you're a Howard fan and you go down through the Shaw neighborhood of Washington, D.C., where Howard is, you know, it's definitely that gym they play in is hopping whenever they're playing at home. And I think if you're a fan of Howard, you know, there's a lot of bright things to look forward to. And this young team, you know, they're having a little problem, you know, closing, as Chris said. I mean, you know, they had some really close losses. But they're going to catch on pretty soon. And they may just catch on, you know, in time for the tournament. You know, they might be one of those teams that sneak in by just winning the conference tournament and surprising everybody else. So we'll have to see how that plays out. But it's Howard's a very reputable, very good little team, and as I said, they're young and they're physical. So we'll see.
Also, James, Stony Brook has gone from -4 to -5 now. I don't think it makes a major difference because New Hampshire has been brutal on the road. We talked about them when they went to play Vermont. They got stopped. They're just 1-8 away from a home this season. The thing that scares me about Stony Brook is I thought they were going to beat Binghamton last week, and they promptly went out and got stomped. And they're also coming off a loss to the New Jersey Institute of Technology, where they lost by 3 on the road as a 5.5-point favorite. So they're coming in on back-to-back losses, where they were favored. Now, like I said, I don't think it'll impact them here, especially since they beat New Hampshire on the road about 10 days ago as a 1-point underdog. But it does scare me that, they lost to two mediocre teams impressed with New Jersey Institute of Technology. And Binghamton surprised me when I thought Stony Brook was going to be particularly like me.
All right, so we spoke a lot about Belmont. Did you get through the way you wanted to on this Austin P?
Yeah, I think Austin P sucks.
Okay, good enough. All right, next slide.
Yeah, we're on the Big Sky where Montana State goes on the road to face Idaho State. Now, you can't really sleep. Idaho State's 4-16. They are coming off an impressive 86-63 win over Montana, where they shot 62% from the field. I don't think Montana expected that either. The plus part, Montana State 17-5 overall. They're 9-2 in the conference. Even with that win, Idaho State is 4-5 at home. Montana State 7-4 on the road. The Bobcats are 56th in scoring offense at 76.8 points a game. They're 71st in field goal percentage. They're 28th in three-point shooting. Meanwhile, Idaho State is just 337th scoring offense at 62.9 points a night. They're 321st in field goal percentage at 42.1%. They can't shoot threes, 31.1% from beyond the arc. And guess what? They can't shoot free throws either. So basically, you're better off, just throwing the ball out of bounds if you're Idaho, because obviously you can't shoot to save your lives. You have to hope the other team is just as bad, and that's not the case here when it comes to offensive production. Montana State's 5-1 in their last 6 against teams with winning percentage below 400. They're 4-1 in their last 5 on the road. Meanwhile, Idaho State can't sustain success. They're 1-5 in their last 6 after a straight-up win. They're 0-5 against the spread in their last 5 home games against a team with winning road record. And just for good measure, they're 0-4 against the spread in their last 4 on Monday. You have to think that Montana State picks up their 10th conference win of the year as they take care of business against a subpar Idaho State team, and they can see their win streak end at what? It was a good one, but it was still one.
One is it. One is the loneliest number, and Idaho State knows all about that. So,
exactly.
Onward and upward from Montana State and Idaho State, we go to the NHL.
Yes.
Welcome back, NHL.
Yeah, hopefully nobody wasted their time watching the All-Star game over the weekend, because it was kind of a waste of time. Like you said, the skill competition was kind of gimmicky.
Right.
So let's get back to some games that actually mean something.
So to speak. Yeah.
Right. It's the Ottawa Senators at home against the New Jersey Devils. New Jersey 15-25-5. The Senators 14-22-4. Ottawa has only played 19 home games this year, which is strange this time of the season. They're 7-11-1 at home. The Devils 5-14-2 on the road. It's supposed to be John Gillies 1-6-1 with a 342 goals against an 834 save percentage. And then for the Devils, Matt Murray 4-6-2, 35 goals against a 910 save percentage with one shutout in net for Ottawa. One note for New Jersey: Jack Hughes won't play tonight. He entered the health and safety protocol this weekend. Dougie Hamilton also out on the blue line for New Jersey. That's going to be a problem for the Devils. They don't score a ton on the road as it is. Meanwhile, both teams are bad when it comes to playing in their own zone. Ottawa 25th in goals against 338. New Jersey's 29th, 353. Devils just 1-6 in their last 7 after a loss by at least 3 goals. During their final game going into the break, they were beaten 7-1 by Toronto, giving up 4 goals in the first period. The game was over at that point, but I still enjoyed it. Meanwhile, the Devils still 0-4 in their last 4 against the Eastern Conference. They're 0-4 in their last 4 against teams with a losing record. They're 0-4 in their last 4 against the Atlantic Division, and they're 0-4 in their last 4 after scoring 2 goals or less in their last game you have to think that it's going to be another rough night for the Devils as they continue to flounder without their key young guys. Like I said, Hughes not playing, that Hamilton out as well. It's a big dent to the New Jersey attack. You have to think that Senators can prevail.
Yeah, it's playing at home is good for them, and there's not. What are you going to say about? I mean, I'm trying to sit here and trying to figure out something nice to say about both these teams. They're pretty crummy teams, so I'm sorry I can't do it. I wish I could, but it's Monday, Chris. Don't force me to try.
Yeah, it's tough for New Jersey. I mean, like I said, you're minus Hughes and you're minus Hamilton. You're minus your top two goaltenders because Bernier's been hurt, and
they're a brutal division.
The protocols. And he's got a heel injury now, so and Bernier's done for the year, so now you have no real backup play. I guess Gillies is going to be the number 2 by default.
I guess.
But, there's not a whole lot of fun stuff to say about these teams, like you said. If you look at New Jersey, gave up 13 goals in 2 games against the Maple Leafs heading into the break. Ottawa, they've been up and down. They've had to deal with injuries and COVID and everything else. They beat the Oilers and they lost the Islanders. There's not a whole lot of good stuff you can say here.
Moving on.
We'll move to the other game on the market, and that's the Maple Leafs and the Hurricanes. I'm a little disappointed that Toronto decided they were going to start Peter Mrazek over Jack Campbell, but you do. The matchup of two good teams. Carolina 31-9-2, the Maple Leafs 89-10-3. The Leafs 16-4-1 on home ice. Carolina's 15-5-1 on the road. And if you look, these elite teams, the Leafs are goals per game at 3.6. Carolina's right behind them at 3.48. The Hurricanes lead the league at 2.33, while we're at 6. It's the Frederik Andersen return tour as he got back to Toronto, where he spent the last 5 seasons there after coming over from the Ducks before going to Carolina as a free agent. The 24-6 with a 2.01 against the 9.29 save percentage of win shutout. Peter Mrazek, like we said, the start over Jack Campbell. Guessing it's because Campbell didn't start game. He's 5-2-0 with goals against the save percentage. The Leafs are 5-1 in their last 6 when the opponent allowed 2 goals or less in the previous game. They're 5-1 in their last 6 against the Metropolitan Division, 13-3 in their last 16 against the Eastern Conference, and they're 27-8 in their last 35 overall. I expect this to be a one-goal game. It's going to be a high-scoring affair. But I like the Leafs playing at home, even though there won't be fans. Apparently, Canada has determined that teams can go back to full capacity on March 14th. Apparently, they're going to try to get an exemption for the Stadium Series event in Hamilton and Tim Horton Field when the Sabres play the Maple Leafs.
Gonna need a lot of Tim Horton coffee to get you through that game. Looking at this, Toronto's backup keeper, Peter, he's not a bad guy. I mean, he's pretty decent.
He's been hurt a lot, though. That's his problem. He got hurt basically in his first start, then he missed about a month. Then he came back and played a game, and then he missed another month. He played a little bit late. He came in the first game against New Jersey last week after Campbell struggled in the first period and shut him down the rest of the way. But I watched him struggle against Detroit. He gave up 4 goals in that game last Saturday where Toronto had to rally in the third to win 7-4. He's just, I don't know, it's basically a revenge game for both guys because, of course, Mrazek played in Carolina the last couple seasons after he went from Detroit. And like I said, Anderson played in Toronto the last 5 years before he went to Carolina as the free agent.
All right, so we're going to go from there to the association where we got a couple of decent games tonight.
Right. And, Tom, we were just talking about Stony Brook. It's a little scary that they lost to Binghamton and NJIT, but playing at home against New Hampshire, I think they should be safe. New Hampshire's 1-8 on the road. And like James said, if Stony Brook's going to bounce back, they're going to do it now or they're going to be done as far as things go because apparently, I don't know if you heard about this or not, Jim, the America East has banned Stony Brook from playing in the postseason tournament because they're changing conferences next season.
That's happened before, and it's kind of like you know, if you don't like us that much, then you're not going to benefit from us either. So, a
Yeah, we
little
don't like you either. So.
bit of a where are they going?
Let me see. I'm trying to remember where it was. Stony Brook, New Conference.
I mean, because I know that everybody wants Stony Brook in their conference. The SEC had made an attempt to get them there, and
Stony Brook going to the CAA.
that's crazy.
Sorry,
That is absolutely crazy. They will get crushed in the CAA.
Them, Hampton, and Monmouth.
Holy mackerel! All right.
So Monmouth will be leaving the MAC. Hampton's in the Big South. The weird thing is Hampton they're gonna go to the third conference in 5 years because they moved from the Big South from MEAC in 2018.
Yeah.
And James Madison is leaving the CAA and going to the Sun Belt.
Right. But that's because of football. That's not really a basketball thing. Well, all right. Well, good on them. Hope, wish them all the best. Good luck to Stony Brook, who won't be playing in the tournament. And here's a battle of wills. In the Southern Division of the NBA, Miami and Washington.
Yeah, coming to you from the Capital One Arena, good old, Ted Leonsis' building. And,
Home to the Caesar Sportsbook.
There you go.
I love them, yes.
Washington has struggled of late. They've won just 4 of their last 14 games coming into this one. They're down to 24-28. It seems like the good mojo they had at the start of the season with Wes Unseld has kind of rubbed off and disappeared. Meanwhile, Miami's 34-20 despite playing with a man unit most of the season. The Wizards 13-13 at home. The Heat are 16-14 on the road. Miami's a middle-of-the-pack team on the offensive end of the floor. They're 16th in scoring offense at 108.7 points a night, 13th field goal percentage, but they're second in three-point shooting. Meanwhile, Washington 22nd in scoring offense at 106.9. They're 12th in field goal percentage, but they're 28th in shooting beyond the arc, 32.4%. And they've got to deal with a Miami team that's good on the defensive end of the floor. The Heat are 5th in the league in scoring defense at 104.4 points a game. They're 7th in field goal percentage defense, and they're 15th in three-point defense. Miami's 4-1 in their last 5 against the spread as the road favorite. 6-2 in their last 8 as a favorite overall. Washington 1-5 in their last 6 against teams with a winning straight-up record. 0-5 against the spread in their last 5 at home. Injury report shows Jimmy Butler, Tyler Hero, Keenan Martin are all questionable for Miami, as is Max Strus. Marquise Morris, Casey Okpala, and Victor Oladipo are out. Oladipo and Morris, not really a surprise. Neither is Okpala. They've all been out for a while.
Washington. I was just going to say Washington's biggest problem, at least from what I've seen with the Wiz, is they've had guys that are banged up. They've had guys in the protocol, and this is a team that relies on their ability to play consistent basketball, right? They're not the kind of team that can make a lot of mistakes and win. And the problem is when you have a team where guys are gone for a little while and then they come back and all, it's very difficult to get that kind of rhythm back. And they don't have the stars on their side who can pull that off. And so, that's when you have a team like that, they're going to fall back into the pack. And that's what's happened to the Wiz. They just can't get consistent because sometimes, once they start getting consistent, somebody either gets, knocked off the team from protocol or gets hurt. So, and Miami has, you brought it up early on, Miami, despite the fact that they have had all kinds of injuries and all kinds of protocol issues, just keeps plugging along.
Well, right, and like you said, regarding Washington, Daniel Gafford is out. He's in the protocols, and Bradley Beal is out with that wrist sprain. He's supposed to be out, I think, probably through the All-Star break.
Yeah, he won't be back until probably, this is the end of February, maybe?
Right, and that's going to be a big blow for Washington.
Yeah, well, he's the scorer, so yeah, you're absolutely right. They need him. So, all right. moving on to, actually, we have a good team coming up on the next slide. That's right, the Warriors, folks. Number one in your heart. There they are.
Golden State on the road to face Oklahoma City. The Thunder are 17-35. Golden State's 40-13. The Thunder 9-16 at home. The Warriors 15-9 on the road. The Thunder is last in scoring offense, last in field goal percentage, last in three-point shooting. They face a Golden State team that is second in the league in scoring defense, first in field goal percentage defense at 42.9%, and first in three-point defense. Golden State 5-0 straight up in the last 5 meetings. Thunder 2-7 against the spread in the last 9 matchups between the teams. Golden State 4-1 in their last 5 with at least 3 days of rest. And 4-1 in their last 5 on the road against teams with a home winning percentage below 400. The injury report: Nemanja Bjelica is out with a back spasm for Golden State. Draymond Green is still injury recovery back. Iguodala and Otto Porter are questionable. For Oklahoma City, we know Alexander is out with an ankle sprain. Mike Muscala is out with an ankle. Isaiah Roby, Aaron Wiggins, Jeremiah Earl Robinson all out. And Lou Dort, basically their scorer right now, Gilgis Alexander, is questionable with a broken nose. It doesn't bode well for Oklahoma City, especially when you don't score normally. If you take away Dort and Gilgis Alexander, who's going to score for the Thunder?
Good luck. Yeah. The thing that the number 2 line up there, which is Thunder, are 9-16 at home. The Warriors are 15-9 on the road. Look at that. That basically is a flip. The Thunder at home aren't as good as the Warriors are on the road by 10 games. By 8 games. So, look at that. That's wild.
Yeah, see, there's stuff people talking about the audio being weird. I don't know. Like I said, we were about at the end of the day. It seems to be when Evan was on, when you were muting it wasn't coming. I don't know if there were issues then or not. There's people saying that there's issues with the audio. I don't know if that's any different now that Jim muted his mic for a second or not.
No, it's not. I don't hear a problem, but I appreciate.
I pick up a little bit of muffling too, but I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's because of the podcast feature that made trying to pre-amplify it or something.
No, the podcast has nothing to do with it. The podcast is being recorded in a separate entity. I don't know, but I appreciate the feedback, and we will do our best to take care of any technical issues that we may have. So we will work on it. Thank you for bringing it to our attention. So so Golden State tonight, OKC. That ought to be an entertaining game. All right, so we're gonna take a moment, and we're gonna talk about the deals that we have for you at Caesars first, and then at MGM. Now, Caesars Sportsbook has a new mobile app and offering that they want to reward our viewers with. And here's the deal: you're gonna get, if you're a new sign up and you use the app, they're gonna match your first deposit with a free bet up to $1,500 when you deposit at least $50 using the promo code WINNERZ. Okay, that's at the end of it, as you can see right there. As it scrolls by, you're going to see that the promo code is WINNER and then the stock sign for Caesars. And there it is. So it's scrolling by. It's in the show box below. So if you miss it here, you can come back and slow-mo it, whatever. But it's in the show box, so you're good on that. So that's what we got going on with the folks over at Caesars. All right. Now, not to be outdone, our friends at MGM also has a cool thing going on. And what they're going to do is they are going to, if you're fans of Winners and Whiners, which we know you are, otherwise you wouldn't be here, and neither would we, Winners and Whiners fans can get a risk-free first bet up to $1,000 for new customers only, but you must deposit $10 to get that started now. Try BetMGM on the app, make the wager, and you get the deal, all right? But you have to use the promo code VIDEOWINNERS, all right, guys? So there you go. You've got that cool deal from Caesars. You got a cool deal from MGM. All right, cool. So we greatly appreciate all of our folks who are kind enough to be part of our wonderful family here. And so now we go to the part of our show every day where we talk about two for the money. Oh wait, no, Super Bowl.
Yeah.
It's Super Bowl week. I almost forgot that for a second. We have a big pregame show coming up on Sunday. Okay, so mark it down. Noon Eastern to 2 p.m. on Sunday. We're going to do a crossover. That's right. It's the two of us and Scott with thousands of guests. Okay, we're gonna have people coming from Los Angeles, from Vegas, from all over the place. So, by all means, circle the date, noon Eastern time, the crossover event, and that will be just parlays and back to the window, bringing you all kinds of fun stuff on Sunday. Scott joining us, and we'll have a lot of fun. Okay, so with that in mind, we're going to talk about some parlays, as we're going to do a little bit of this every day leading up to the big event on Sunday. So, Chris, here's some Super Bowl parlays.
Yeah, I think that's some of the top props that I found this morning when I was looking around. I did a piece on the winners and whiners on them. I like Evan McPherson to go over 7.5 points. The kicking game, obviously, he's been the Bengals' offensive weapon. He's 12 for 12 in field goals in the postseason. He really makes 4 extra points. So, obviously, a couple field goals, a couple extra get you there. You have to think that he's going to be Cincinnati's big weapon in the scoring department there. Cooper Kupp over 104.5 receiving yards. Obviously, Kupp has been the number one target from the Rams all season. He went over his yardage mark 16 times in 20 games this season. You have to think that he'll be featured again here, and that'll work in his favor. By the same token, I look for Cam Akers to be held under 63.5 rushing yards. The Rams have averaged less than 95 yards on the ground in the playoffs, and Akers hasn't had a game over 55 yards. And coming back from that Achilles injury he suffered in training camp, I don't expect him to magically become a feature back here. They're doing something with Shep Diggs. And who knows, maybe you'll see Darrell Henderson getting activated off IR. It would be another boost, another to Akers' productivity. Stafford over 300 yards passing. He's averaging over 301 in the playoffs. Cincinnati was not good against the pass this season. They've been torched in the postseason, giving up at least 8 to 20 yards. I think that Stafford can push the go over that. And first quarter total going over 7.5 points. I think that there's probably be 7 to 3 or 7 to 6, something like that at the end of the first quarter, going over that mark. Just because of the fact that I don't expect this to be bad defensive struggle, given the way that we're kind of middle of the pack defensively this season.
Yeah, I mean, look, the Rams are not a running team, so I think the Matt Stafford over 300 yards is definitely a doable thing. I think Cooper Kupp, if he doesn't get 104 yards, then the Rams are in trouble. My boy Evan McPherson, who played for the Gators, got a little love on him. He's going to definitely get his points. And that first quarter thing, that's interesting, because the funny thing about the first quarter in Super Bowls is that you've got two teams that are incredibly psyched up, right? They've been sitting in the locker room all, for the better part of a couple of hours. They make that grandiose open where both teams go flying out and they're introducing, they're all psyched. And I've spoken to guys who played in the Super Bowl, been to Super Bowls myself, where, you see them and half the guys will say, we don't really even breathe until halfway through the first quarter. They're taking in so much, and there's so much going on that, it's difficult to get that first quarter. Now, some teams who have had some success or have been to the Super Bowl, the Rams have been to the Super Bowl. Okay, they lost, but they were there. So they do understand it. Now, the other thing that the advantage the Rams have is they're at home. So, those are two huge advantages. And so, yeah, I think over 7.5 points is a pretty safe bet on the, for this particular Super Bowl being played out in SoFi. All right, well, thank you for the props, my friend. And let's move on to two for the money.
Right, like we said, Phoenix -8 over Chicago. The Bulls played yesterday against Philadelphia. They're going to be tired. Zach LaVine didn't play in that game. Neither did Kobe White. I'm just look at the updated injury report. Of course, Lonzo Ball will play. Alex Caruso, Eric Jones, LaVine, and Kobe White are questionable here. That could be a problem for them. For the Suns, it's the same guys that have been out for a while now. Kaminsky, Nader, Payne, Hart, and Schmidt. So you're going to have 8. You're going to have TP3. You're going to have Booker and Jake Crowder and all those guys. I think the Suns being rested will get the win on the road there. We talked about the Heat, the Wizards. Bradley Beal gave a lot of problems for Washington. On the college hardwood, Furman, the Paladins, they go on the road against East Tennessee State. The Buccaneers are feeding all of a sudden. Paladins trying to stay near the top of the SoCon as they try to, find a way to get a shot at that top bid. And then North Dakota State over South Dakota in the battle of the states in the Midwest that nobody pays attention to. North Dakota State is at home. South Dakota State has been brutal on the road this season. And you have to trust the Coyotes away from home. Just to pull that up real quick, I think they are. That's what it is. It's an ugly number as far as their road record. They come in and okay, they're not as bad as they're 3-5, but North Dakota State 10-2. They've already taken care of business against South Dakota this season. I look for them to get the win in that contest.
Jennifer has a question for you there, bud.
Raptors, the Heat, and the Jazz. Yeah, I actually have both those teams, the Raptors and the Jazz, coming up momentarily. And we talked about the Heat. Let's face it, the thing that you have to worry about with Toronto is can they maintain their consistent performance? They played well of late. Can they keep it up against Charlotte? That line's actually gone down. Charlotte was originally a 3-point underdog, down to 1.5 or 2 now, depending on the book, which makes it a little more attractive from the perspective of betting on the Raptors. There's no real injuries to speak of now when you look at it. Just take a quick look. Yeah, there's the biggest name that's missing for Toronto is Gordon Dragic. He hasn't played since November. Gordon Hayward will be back from Charlotte. So the biggest name they're missing is Jalen McDaniels. But I just don't like the way Charlotte's played lately. They had that hot streak, and then all of a sudden they've come back to earth. They lost to the Clippers, they lost to the Celtics, they lost to the Cavaliers, and they lost to the Heat. And this could be their third game in 4 nights as well. Meanwhile, Toronto's had a couple days off, and they've come in with 5 straight wins. So, yeah, Toronto, Miami, and Utah. Utah gets to face the Knicks team that has been miserable. It blew that game against the Lakers the other night. So, you can go pretty well there.
Okay, let's move to what we like to say, 4 for the money. 4 for the show.
Yeah, we got a couple teams out there that we don't normally talk about. Texas Southern. You remember, Jim, we talked about them back in December when they were 7 and went on the road and beat Florida in the Swamp. Johnny Jones' team has been on a roll, and they get to face Bethune-Cookman tonight on the road, and I think that it's going to be a victory for Texas and Johnny Jones and company getting the win there. James Madison on the road against Drexel. I like Cam Winter for the Dragons, but Drexel just doesn't intimidate anybody. Even playing they kind of get lost in the shuffle of all the other teams from Philadelphia on the college hardwood. You've got Temple, and you've got St. Joe, and all those guys. They're kind of like the sixth team in there with Penn and everybody else.
Villanova.
Yeah. So you have to think that the Dukes can steal one on the road. I'll take them with the points. Speaking of Temple, there they are. They've got your all-modern gym on the road. Eric McKee's team.
I see.
I like giving 4 points down there in the England Center over South Florida just because, as we talked about before, the Bulls can't score to save their lives. And then Ottawa over New Jersey, it's just tough with the Devils without Jack Hughes. Who's going to step in? And without Blackwood, going with John Gillies, the guy who had no real experience, as your number one goaltender in the short term doesn't bode well. I look for the Senators to get the win there.
Just for the heck of it, I've started a GoFundMe page to get Rick Pitino to South Florida.
Have you gotten any donations yet?
I've got a few. We're getting there. I don't know how much money it's going to take to get Rick to go, but I mean,
how much did you get up to? Like $3?
He's let's see, Ricky is 71 years old, so I think there's not a lot of tread left on that, but I'll take it. They got to make us coaching change to South Florida. They absolutely do. And
so you don't believe in Brian Gregory?
I wish I could say I did. He's a nice man, but I'm sorry. He's had plenty of time to win, and he hasn't. So, I'm just like everybody else when it comes to coaches. It's easy for me to fire him, and put somebody else in the place. But I still refuse to speak to Seth Greenberg, and he left 7 years ago or so. So, anyway. All right, so let's go to the menu. Shot in the dark.
Yeah, Virginia Tech, they should have beaten Pitt by more than 5 the other night. They were up by 28 in the second half, and then they decided, we don't have to play basketball for 15 minutes.
Right.
All of a sudden, it was a 4-point game before they put it away. I don't think that'll happen in Blacksburg. Saturday's game was at the Peterson Event Center. I know Pitt did get Ithiel Horton back, a couple games ago after he missed most of the season with assault and battery charges. That's a big boost for Pitt, but unfortunately, it doesn't matter. They're not going anywhere anyway. I like Virginia Tech at home. Montana at home against Southern Utah. We talked about Montana getting swamped by Idaho State on the road. They also lost to Weber State on the road last week. They're at home for this one. They're a short favorite, only 2 points, which is surprising considering they're 11-0 at home this season. Meanwhile, Southern Utah is a road team. Everybody loves the Thunderbirds, I'm sure. The Thunderbirds are 2-6 on the road. No, I'm sorry. They're 3-4. I was looking at the wrong one. It's in Northern Arizona. Don't mind me. It's tough to go against a team that's 11-0 and wants to bounce back after a couple of straight losses. Arizona State. I know Arizona State beat UCLA in triple overtime the other night. I don't know what UCLA was thinking. Quality basketball. That's not the way you expect a big team to play. Arizona took care of USC. And they beat UCLA. I don't see Bobby Hurt's team putting together their magic pool. In that case, it was 55 minutes. They're playing another 40 minutes tonight. I like Wildcats in that one. Middle Tennessee, they're 9-0 at home. UTSA is 0-9 on the road. That's all we need to say about that.
Enough said. Moving on. Yeah.
Tennessee Tech, like I said, they played good basketball for about 32 minutes against Belmont. They were up by 20. They lost in overtime. They ran out of steam in overtime. Really, they were outscored 16-8 in the session because they couldn't stop Kaczynski. Now they get to face Eastern Illinois, who's terrible. That's why they're favored by 14 points. The Panthers have stopped nobody. You have to think that Tennessee Tech can learn from what they did well and build off that. I guess an Eastern Illinois team that is a train wreck. Marty Simmons, I'm surprised he still has a job. New Jersey and Ottawa, I like to stay under 6. I just don't have faith in these teams scoring enough. New Jersey had 0.6 goals a game on the road. Ottawa are just 2.7 at home. I look for that to fall short of the number. Carolina and the Leafs, by the same token, I look to go over the number because they're both good defensive teams, but they're good offensive firepower. And with Mrazek and net, I'm scared that, it's going to end up, I watched the game between these teams a year ago where it ended up 8-6. It wasn't right, something like that either. Then, like we said, this -8 over the Bulls. I also expect that game to go over the number to 227. I think it'll end up over that, given that we saw Chicago has had issues on the defense. They gave up 131 to the Spurs. They gave up 115 in the 119 yesterday to Philadelphia, 127 to Toronto, 115 to Orlando, 116 to Portland. For the last 6 games, they've given up at least 115 points in all of them. That's a scary concept when you're dealing with these teams that's very good on the offense end. Utah might 7.5 over the Knicks. The Jazz have bounced back. They've won a couple in a row now. They've got Mitchell back, which is a big boost. Rudy Gobert comeback trail. It'll be interesting to see what the Jazz can replace Joe Ingles out here after he tore his ACL a couple weeks ago. And the Knicks, let's face it, the Knicks are not good. I mean, Kemba Walker is ruled out tonight with a sore knee. You can't count on the Knicks. Randall can't do it all by himself. And there's been talk, Jim, that Randall can get dealt in Sacramento for De'Aaron Fox.
Yeah, I saw that.
I don't know which team would be worse off for that trade. And finally, Toronto -2 over Charlotte. We talked about the Raptors playing good basketball. Charlotte's going the other way. I like them. I see you were talking about the Charlotte 49ers tonight over Florida International. That game on the road, Charlotte is a 1-point underdog currently. I actually like that. I think, Charlotte, they're probably a little undervalued there. Florida International, they're not all that impressive. They play well at home, but Charlotte's coming off a 24-point win over Marshall. And FIU's coming in with 3 losses in their last 4 games, including losing to UNC and Utah. I like Charlotte in that one.
Jennifer has a couple quick questions. One is about Auburn and Kentucky, a game that's coming this week. And also, as you see right there, she took a future bet for the Czech Republic to win women's gold at the Olympic Games.
Well, it's always tough to go against, either the U.S. or Canada, because those are the 2 teams you hear about the most. I mean, Canada beat up on Russia yesterday, even though the game was delayed, and even though they had to play wearing masks. They still won that one convincingly. As far as Auburn and Kentucky, I'm not seeing that game on the schedule. I see Auburn plays Arkansas tomorrow, and they play Texas A&M Saturday. I see Kentucky has South Carolina on the road tomorrow, and they're at Florida Saturday. So I am not sure.
Not unless you're talking about women.
Well, then I would have to look, because I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah.
I mean, Auburn and Kentucky met on January 22nd at the Auburn Arena. Kentucky came up an 80-71 win. Let me see if it's a women's game or not. That or else Ken Palm is lying to me as far as the schedule goes. Let me take a look here. Go as far as the women's schedule here and see if that's what the deal is.
Jennifer, check your schedule. Let us know. Is it a women's game or a men's game?
Yeah, I'm just trying to find Auburn or Kentucky on here anywhere so I can find out.
I don't see it on the SEC schedule.
Yeah, that's pretty easier than me trying to go through the schedule day by day and figure out. Yeah, I see Auburn plays Arkansas in women's basketball on Thursday.
Right. Sorry, Jen.
Yeah. And then they play Florida next week.
Yeah. It's not our schedule.
Yeah, Auburn and Kentucky don't play women's basketball until the 27th. Okay.
Well, Jen, sorry, we can't give you any help on that one. But we do think that you might come out on that game. The Czech Republic always has a very competitive team when it comes to ice hockey in the men's side. So that might be.
Unfortunately, Jennifer, there is no revenge game. Those teams only get to play once this season due to the quirks of having 300 teams in the SEC and
right
18 conference games.
There you go. That's the way it works. Any final questions before we get out of here on a Monday? Going once, going twice. Anything, Chris?
Not that I'm seeing. I mean,
Okay.
I fear, like I said, I like Toronto tonight in the NBA. I like Phoenix. I think Miami's going to win. I think that if you put the three together, like Jennifer said, and I think it was Elliot up there further up. I think that's probably a good way to go.
Yeah, I think you got a pretty good night ahead of you, gang. All right. For Chris King, I'm Jim Williams saying thank you so much for joining us. Stay tuned. 3 o'clock. Back to the window. Scott and Scott. They're going to be breaking down what happened over the weekend and also take a look at what's going on tonight. So back at the window. Scott and Scott straight up at 3 o'clock right here on the Winners and Whiners Sports Betting Network. Until tomorrow. For Mr. King, I'm Jim Williams saying so long, everybody. Have a great day.